Hi, it's Shashi from Live Tantra, and I'm really excited. Today I'm hanging out with Eyal, and he is the author of this book that the world has been waiting for, Orgasm Unleashed, your guide to pleasure, healing, and power. So, Eyal, you're a bit of a master of female orgasm, is that right? How did you learn about female orgasm?
So maybe the first thing to say is I'm just learning. You know, anybody who says he's a master of anything feminine is just kidding with themselves. So I know a little bit, and I put it in this book. And I was I was a geek, and I still am a little bit of a geek, but I tried to get out of that, and I was like, okay, let's figure out this women thing, you know. And I always loved women from a very early age, and I played doctor and everything, and I just started exploring. I went to a Tantra school 10 years ago and Agama yoga over here, and my life changed, and I decided to really experiment. Then I started to have tantric sex, and as a beginner tantric practitioner, I had to stop all the time. I had to pull out. And it's like when I had to pull out, I was doing something else. I was using my fingers, I was using my mouth as well. And it became, there's such a pleasure to give pleasure to somebody else. And for me, I guess it was something like, the young scientists, kind of like saying like, okay, what do you do that makes that? And I think it's very important to have like sometimes a masculine approach to guide women, because women sometimes are like, I don't want to say all over the place, it sounds bad, but they are a little bit all over the place. It's like, and it's beautiful. But what I present is a very structured approach.
So, what should a woman do? So, if a woman, say she's perhaps never had an orgasm, how does she even begin?
So the first thing is to understand that the solution comes from you. So many many women have this idea, have this attitude that they need a man to save them, or they need a practitioner to save them, or a workshop to save them. The solution is always outside. So somebody will do the work for me. What I suggest is you need to do your own work, and it starts with self-pleasuring. Self-pleasuring is, it's like if somebody asks me what is one advice that I would give, this is the one. So self-pleasuring is the first one, and really self-pleasuring and self-loving, not just masturbating. Because in the same way that men jerk off, women clit off, so they just give themselves this really short, sharp peak of clitoral orgasm. And it's not bad. It's not like, it's like God still loves you if you have a clitoral orgasm. It's not a sin. But it's a little bit disempowering for a woman to have that.
So what else can she have? What else is available apart from a clitoral orgasm?
So when a woman starts to explore internally, it's like she realizes there's a whole world down there or in there. So first of all, inside the vagina, and even before even her vagina, she can have amazing experiences all over her body. So a woman can have a throat orgasm and a nipple orgasm and a skin orgasm and many different kinds of orgasm. And it's all about attitudes. So I believe in the attitude to recognize every small wave of pleasure as a mini orgasm. Because many people aiming for something, they think like, oh, the orgasm should be like that. I should be shouting and screaming like that woman I saw in the porn movie or whatever. But when you recognize every little, it's like convulsion, every goosebumps, everything is pleasure, a vaginal contraction, everything is a mini orgasm. You can take those and expand those.
Oh, I love it. That's great. That's great advice. So if a woman has, maybe she's been brought up with a lot of guilt and shame around pleasure. So how does she get over that?
So that's, again, there's whole chapters there, and one of them, I have a whole
Chapters in this book.
structure, and I call it the holistic transformation model. And the first stage is to reflect on where you're at and exactly what's your limiting beliefs. What's your judgments about yourself? It's like some women say, it's like, I don't like my vagina, I don't like my smell, I don't like this, I don't like that. This is bad, that is bad. So just recognizing what are my hang-ups, say that? What are my blockages? What do I have a problem with? Because if you have a problem with something, you have a problem. So looking at that and saying, okay, I understand, I have a problem with that. And then very gradually, not going, suddenly going to some sex party and having an orgy with like 20 people. With yourself. It's like You start exploring with yourself, and then you start playing with yourself. And I suggest it to my clients and to my workshop participants, and even with the smallest self-play, some women say, oh, I suddenly had so much guilt and shame coming up. So I stopped. So I go like, okay, stay with that. Instead of pushing too hard, or instead of running away, you just stay with whatever happens. You explore pleasure, you explore pain, or you explore sensations, you explore emotions. Because men and women, and we're talking specifically here about women, are not connected to their body, not connected to their emotions, not connected to their genitals. So again, women clit off. They do this really, really shallow thing, and they don't really. They're escaping from the depth. They're escaping from the emotion. They're escaping from the strong energies that are coming. So if a woman is having guilt and shame about sexuality, start exploring it with herself. Start exploring it with her lover. Suggest, maybe today we can do that. Okay, not tell him. Just ask him. It's like, oh, I would really love to explore that. Would you like to?
So gently go into the terrain bit by bit and explore it. And
Yeah.
so can you tell us a little bit about the famous G-spot and the G-spot orgasm?
So we already mentioned the clitoral orgasm. And the clitoral orgasm is like a short and sharp peak of pleasure, which is okay. And afterwards, many women would recognize they have this sensitivity of the clitoris when it's kind of like, don't touch me. And you can last anything from a few seconds to a few minutes and even a few hours. And it's not just oversensitivity, it's like the whole interest kind of like drops down a little bit. The passion drops down a little bit. There's something is like, some women say it's a release, but it's like a loss, not so much a release. In other kinds of orgasm, which are implosive, internal, they are containing the energy, not losing the energy. And G-spot is one of them. And I would say not get too much hung up about where's the G-spot and if it exists or not. It exists, but the idea is to move from clitoral orgasm into all of the other realm of orgasms, which are those implosive ones. And those ones are much more round. They're much more, they're longer. Maybe they're not as sharp as the clitoral orgasm, but they last much, 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 and sometimes much longer. They're not so physical as well. A clitoral orgasm, similar to a man's ejaculatory orgasm, is a very, very strong physical experience. With internal orgasm, G-spot orgasms, cervical orgasms, whole body orgasms, energetic orgasms, you start to experience more the energetic realm, the emotional realm. The energy starts traveling, and you start feeling love, feeling union. You start maybe crying. Not crying because of sadness, crying because the emotions are expressing themselves like that. You start to have spiritual openings and experiences of union with your higher self, with your partner, with the world. So really, when we call all of this orgasm, but they are so different.
And what about this very famous cervical orgasm? So this is known in the Tantra world. Can you tell us a bit about this little mystery?
So the cervical orgasm is considered one of the most, no words, it's like one of the most ultimate orgasms that a woman can experience. And this is, in some levels here, the core of her femininity. Okay, there's something really amazing in those. So they can be earth-shattering and very gentle at the same time. Okay, because again, if you think about a clitoral peak being really, really sharp and a G-spot being strong but a little bit more round, the cervical orgasm is much more, it's not just round, it goes into those other dimensions that I mentioned. Okay, it goes into feeling your energy body and feeling your whole body vibrate physically and energetically, going into heart space and feelings of love and union and surrender, going into the solution even. And again, sometimes it's very, very physical, and it can be, you hear your neighbors from the other room and it sounds really, really strong, but it feels totally different.
How would a woman know if she's had a cervical orgasm, or a man? How does a couple know?
I would focus more on the state and less on the point. So the moment that you start to cultivate yourself internally, and I recommend all of my clients and students and readers to use a dildo and to masturbate internally, and there's a lot of other experiences that activate your energy. And then focus on what you are experiencing, and not so much if you are having that orgasm or that orgasm. Because sometimes it is a little bit difficult to know. One of my teachers said that she can recognize if a woman had a cervical orgasm.
In her whole life, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like that. She
Ah.
says, it's like, yeah, it's like, and yeah, because I feel that many people, it's like I talk about 20, 30 different kind of orgasm, and I categorize them and all of this. But I feel it's very important to go there not so much with the intention of getting to something specific, but to open up to the field, to the, I call it the state of orgasm. So many people look at orgasm as a moment, as a few seconds. And when you start looking at orgasms as a state, your whole sex changes. Your whole experience of yourself changes, because it's a moment that can last for as long as you want, for an hour, for a day. I had women that I was working with that had a 2-hour orgasmic state. They were just, in total ecstasy, sometimes without me touching them at all, for the whole 2 hours. I just guided them to be that in themselves. So it was not a cervical experience, it was a whole body, whole everything experience. So I would very much focus on that. And then also afterwards, after the experience, maybe writing this down in what I call the orgasmic diary in the book. Because sometimes those experiences are so different than your daily life. You need to relate to that somehow, so you write a little bit afterwards, if you're in a space for words at all. And then you look at that later and you go like, wow, that was like this and that was like this. So you start collecting those experiences, and you understand which kind of maybe orgasm you have.
That's great. Well, I think I might be starting an orgasmic diary, maybe even an orgasmic video diary. So you can find out more from this book, which is really full of essentials I'd say for men as well as women, because as Eyal's pointed out, like, this is unknown territory for everyone, and it's always useful to have some way to understand it a little bit more and know where to go. So thank you so much for sharing. And
The book is from intimatepower.com.
intimatepower.com. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.